Hi, I'm Tristan Bancks. This is the Five Writers 5 Minutes podcast where five writers share their top writing tips. This is our 20th episode, and in this one, we really are going to get down
Ooh.
to our absolute top tips for you as a writer. We're going to take a minute each. Deborah Abela, tell us what do people need to know to write an amazing story?
Well, we've all been collectively writing for a long, long time. And we did deliberately decide that this 20th episode is going to be pep talk time, stuff we've learned, right? Stuff we want to share about why we love this thing that we do so much. So first of all, for me, my top tip would be love your writing, love your characters, love your story. Like that, for me, I cannot go forward into a story if I'm begging for the story to be friends with me, right? I have to love it. Don't give up on an idea, and it won't give up on you. Like, honestly, it might seem hard and you might think, oh, this idea just won't work. Put it aside for a little while. That's okay too, to let things simmer. But don't give up on it. A big thing, of course, and this makes sense for our lovely podcast, join a critique group. If I could give my 20-year-old self some advice, is join a critique group. Share the highs, the lows, the celebratory times, the roller coasteriness that it is, not only the business of being a writer, but also writing those low times when you can't think of an idea, and immerse yourself in the Kidlit community. So basically hang out with other people who do what you do.
Well done, Deb. Sarah, what are your tips?
Absolute number one is do not expect too much of your first drafts. I think it's really something all of us will have done, especially in the early days, and even now, perhaps. First drafts just are wonky and wobbly, and some people's first drafts are to greater or lesser degrees. And I think if we write something, if we expect that first draft to be really great and perfect and sizzling and have all the plot sorted and the characters rounded, we're going to be disappointed, and then we'll give up. Like, it's just to accept, all right, my first draft is going to be a bit thin, the characters are going to be a bit, transparent, they're not going to feel really fully rounded, but I can rewrite, because rewriting is fundamental. And to really embrace rewriting would be the other thing I've learned. And in my rewriting, it's not just tinkering with what's there, it's writing new bits, whole new bits, fleshing things out, adding lots more setting, adding lots more description, lots more emotion. So, and experimenting, just playing around, like, I'm just going to try this and see what happens, or I'm going to try that. And sure, if you don't use it, maybe that's half an hour you've wasted, but that kind of openness to new possibilities, I think, leads often to something very interesting. Like, just don't get locked down on that first way the story is spilled on this page, and don't expect a first draft to be ready to be published, because it won't be.
That's great. Lian, what are your greatest tips?
One of the most important things I have learned is that there is a point with every book at which I suddenly realize that it is complete rubbish and I have no idea what I'm doing, and why do I even bother trying to do this job? Yeah. And this used to really, really upset me. But what I've learned is that this is part of my process. It happens every time. So now I try not to take it too seriously. We all have stuff like this. We all have kind of points in the process where we think it's awful. So learning not to take that too seriously, learning to recognize it, and that it's going to come up again and again. That's one of the things. Another thing that I think that's really important that I've learned is that I will never stop learning. A while ago, I found an interview that I did. I sounded so confident on the radio, as if I had this whole writing thing completely figured out. And looking back, I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. But this is what it's all about. It's about learning the craft. Yeah. And someone who sets out with stubbornness and determination to learn the craft is way ahead of someone who is wildly talented but doesn't think they need to learn anything.
Yeah.
I've learned so much as well from all you guys. It's wonderful. I think my top tip is to trust your instincts. I was fluffing around writing all these sort of things which I thought I should write. And it wasn't until I really listened to what was going on inside of me and all the things that I was interested in, the things I love, the things I love to read, and just really let go. Only then was I able to really enjoy the writing process and write something that I think is worth having published. So that is definitely my top tip. And I think it summarizes a lot, what I find important about the writing process. How about you, Tristan?
Yeah, look, I'd second that. I think having the faith, because it doesn't really, especially if you're writing fictional stories, if you're making stuff up, people are sort of discouraged from spending their time sitting around doing stuff like that doesn't, have an immediate logical purpose. Fiction can be really useful to people. Stories are really useful to people. This is how we communicate ideas. It's how we help each other. It's how we understand the world. And so it takes a lot, though, to set aside a little bit of time each day, even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour or 1 hour or whatever you can do, to just let your mind wander and find stuff out, and having faith and trust, like Zanni's saying, having faith that this is a worthwhile use of your time. I think the whole world more and more is going to this thing that's very logical and very much about productivity. And I think if you're a kid and you're mucking around with ideas, more and more as you go through your schooling, you're told, okay, don't be faffing around with ideas, get into the sensible stuff and the logical stuff and the science and the maths and things. But I do think that setting aside some time for creativity and play every day can actually feed all those other areas and make you much better at thinking about science and thinking about maths and thinking about, everything you need to do in your life. So yeah, look, that was a lot of tips in, and we've only been 6 minutes or something, which is a record episode for 5 minutes, Five Writers podcast. Can I just say thanks to my fellow writers, Deb Abela, Sarah Armstrong, Lian Tanner, and Zanni Louise, for going on this journey with me. We've trusted and committed to this podcast, knowing that, down through the weeks and months and years, hopefully this will be really useful for writers coming up and for kids who want to create something. We are on all the podcast apps. We're on YouTube. So a variety of ways to listen to our other episodes. Thanks very much, everybody. See you later.
Yeah. We'll see you next year.
And we'll be back next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.